Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Toru, and today I have 5 common mistakes I can guarantee you're making in your TF2 matches. Sometimes we boot up casual only to get stomped by that one player on the other team that has double the next person's kills in the lobby while providing insane value to their team, and who somehow doesn't have a pocket medic while doing it. This video will tell you how to close that gap and be the player who shoulders the entire team rests upon. And the last tip is something competitive players don't start to do until the middle to higher divisions, so stick around to the end of the video. Starting off with number 1, we have map control. Biggest mistake a lot of players are making is not playing for map control. Too often I'll see people make a play for a very important part of the map, kill everyone who's occupying it, and instead of defending it and keeping it for their team, they just make another play right after that. And that can be fine depending on the circumstances, but you get a lot more value for your team and more kills if you just keep it for yourself, stay there and defend it. Because if you go in after getting that vantage point and die, yes, you'll get a couple cool kills, but the enemy team who was previously there is just going to take it back, and now your team has to fight for it again. Versus, if you stay there, you're creating a huge problem for the enemy team. Look at this Swiftwater clip. I take apartments, and instead of bombing into their house to flank their sentry, walk across the bridge, or bomb their medic, I just stay here and deny people from taking this high ground. Now my team doesn't have to worry about it when pushing the cart. Me simply just existing here and spamming is putting a lot of pressure on the other team. And when my team does push in, I start to get more aggressive and really utilizing this vantage point on the map. If I played this aggressively when I first got here, my team was still in tunnel and they could easily just send 2 to 3 people to kill me. But since I'm here, it creates a crossfire that secures my team to the point. When playing for map control, it can be boring at times, but it's a very easy way to rack up kill streaks. I find it a very chill way to pub while providing lots of value to my team. And if the other team is just straight up not going to your part of the map and just ignoring the vantage point, you can very easily just go for a play. It's not like they're going to take it back afterwards, and if they do, it'll probably be pretty easy. This works on offense and defense. If you keep these important parts of the map secure during pushes, you'll rack up a lot of kills because, like that Swiftwater example, you're creating a crossfire, so they either shoot you and die to your team, or they shoot your team and die to you. Or they just all die without shooting anyone. As far as what makes a power spot on a map or a vantage spot, just look for high ground that overlooks the objective and only has 1 or 2 ways to get to it. Or you could just go onto YouTube and search that map you want to learn about and put Highlander or Sixes after it, and you'll see comp players POVs who are playing in those power spots getting value for their team.
I'm shooting gun. Setting my bomb upper. Soldier went under.
The next mistake you're making that will drastically improve your gameplay and make you so much more valuable to your team is push in with Ubered players. It's crazy how much value you can get for your team when you just push up with them. Too often I'll see medics pop on someone and then the team just sits back and watches the Uber happen like, yeah, you guys got that. Expecting the one invincible person to wipe half their team or push their front line 3 miles back. Not to mention when you go in solo, you are so easily wrapped and killed in post. I do it every single time I see someone Uber in solo. I literally just wait behind them until the Uber's over, and then while they're retreating, my team's shooting them from the front while I'm delivering some devious back shots. Then we push in with our own Uber because we have ad and take the point. It's that easy. If you push in with your team while they Uber, they obviously can't get wrapped, and you can get a lot of eco frags that the Uber players just couldn't quite secure because the enemy team was running away while that big Uber is happening. This is especially true if your team Ubers a soldier or demo. You're going to get a lot of eco frags if you push up with them. Not to mention most people will just run away when they see an Uber player, which of course makes it a lot easier to kill them when their back is turned. Not to mention, if your other teammates see you going in behind that Uber player, they're also more inclined to do it themselves. Now all of a sudden we have an actual push going on here with a much higher success chance than just watching one Uber player run in. And we get that push in during the match, not at the very last second like a pub push, rather than just our one Ubered player going in, getting everyone weak, and then nothing happening afterwards. And I'm not saying you have to just follow them blindly right next to them. You can take a crossfire angle, you can stand a little bit behind them, just don't be right next to them because you'll die very easily. And pub medics aren't exactly known for flashing players, so you're kind of risking it if you're right next to your Ubered player. Perfect example of what this looks like right here. Our medic quick fix Ubers this other soldier, and instead of running in with them through main, I go up catwalk expecting to shoot players from high ground, but instead I get some really good damage on this heavy and join my team back through main and clean up these kills. Now our team has control over house because I contributed to this Uber, cleaned up all these post kills, and let our team flood through. I know it sounds kind of like egotistical to say, but without me going in during that Uber, it would have been a terrible Uber. My medic probably would have died as well, and we would not have control over house. But since I showed up to clean up those kills, it went perfectly fine. Just the soldier who got Uber died. Real quickly, this is my first video on this channel, so if you want more tips and videos like this, just drop a like and subscribe. It lets me know this is content you guys are interested in seeing, so I'll make more and give you more of these good tips. The next mistake you're doing is not denying jumpers. Denying jumpers is comically easy in this game, especially if you're in pubs where people are pencil bombing 90% of the time. And when they're not, they're probably not going to be strafing and making their movement unpredictable. They're just going to be bombing in a straight line. If you're on scout, heavy, NG, pyro, or shotgun soldier, you're missing out on probably the freest kills of your life when these players bomb. It's crazy how 2 or 3 shotgun shots will just completely annihilate somebody's momentum in the air and make them fall straight to the ground. It's really bad. In pubs, you don't typically have to worry about this because of sentries, but people in pubs don't really get much speed when jumping or strafe, so it's really easy for these sentries to lock onto them. But in the rare occasions they don't, that's where you come in with the hit scan and just melt them entirely. Not to mention, getting these easy kills provides a ton of value to your team. Getting bombed is probably, in my opinion, the easiest way to lose a point without getting Ubered on. And if you're not getting bombed directly and they're going behind you, that's almost even worse depending on the player. You can very easily get spawn camped or just lose the entire point because the person behind is just destroying your hold. In this clip, I get behind and just make it completely impossible for their NG to set up a sentry. And they just keep sending one player at a time to come back and get me. Well, they're not really sending. It's like one player realizes it at a time. And I just don't die for a long time. And I'm just a massive thorn in this team's side. Versus if they just killed me when I was bombing, if a heavy looked up and just shot me down, this would not be a problem for the defense right now. But at the moment, when my team floods through, they're just not going to have to deal with a level 3 at all. And it's going to be so easy for them to take this point. The best thing you can do when you see a jumping player is to kill them mid-air or right as they land. Obviously, if you're on the other side of the point or you have to put yourself in a bad position to kill them, it's not really worth it. So just don't W key jumpers, but get those free kills or at least deny them for your team. Another mistake you're making is not fighting with your teammates, and I don't mean verbally or in chat. But when you see your teammates going in for a play or actively fighting someone, just join in. It's pretty unfun to fight against somebody third-partying or when you're just about to win your 1v1 and then your teammate steals the kill. But fighting along teammates provides insane value for your team. It's really hard to not do it once you realize how good it is. If you see your teammate taking a 1v1, no matter the circumstance, and you jump in, you're either going to guarantee that kill and keep your teammate alive, or at the very least trade out your teammate and even out the numbers advantage. Unless you get random crit or something, then that kind of sucks. Or you just are terrible, but you're watching the video, so you won't be. But doing this in practice adds up over time. When it comes time for a push and your team is up 2 players instead of down 2, it really does make a difference. In this clip, I'm literally just following around this random scout. I'm not queued with him, and I'm shooting the same things he's shooting and creating a crossfire. No matter which one of us gets shot in the 2v1, the enemy is still going to receive a rocket and a scattergun shot every second. So there's no way both of us can die to the same person. You can do this with literally anybody in pubs. All these clips are in casual with just totally random people. But when you do this, you are going to be shooting what they want to shoot. You don't really have much freedom since you're the one playing off of them. Obviously because, you can't coordinate really unless you're in voice chat, and that's going to get really annoying really quickly. Obviously, if you queue with someone, that's a lot easier. You can coordinate everything, but this style of play is best used when you see a teammate wanting to make a play and you join in with them, or you want to take a part of the map, so you wait for another teammate to go in. There's no harm in just kind of waiting there until a teammate comes through the area and you take it with them. You can use them as a meat shield almost kind of. Doing this is just going to give you a lot better of a chance to fight the people in there rather than feeding into them one at a time. You can take that 2v2, 2v3, or 2v1, so that way your odds of taking that area for your team is a lot higher. And if you go in with your teammates when they make a play, those stupid pub plays that where one person just randomly dies feeding into the other team can actually become really good if you follow them and clean up the kills they didn't get, since they're going to be looking at that dumbass pyro who just held W at their team and not the soldier flying over them getting all these free kills. Last mistake you're making that I'll touch on in this video is not utilizing proper crosshair placement and pre-firing. If you come from attack shooter like Counter-Strike, Valorant, or Spectral Divide, I guess, you'll know this is one of the most important things you need to get good at very early on. But for some reason, TF2 players just have this massive magnetic pull yanking their mouse to look at the floor, and it just drives me crazy sometimes. I'm still getting used to this adjustment myself, and it's not really something I've thought about too much, but I've been playing a good bit of CS and Valorant for the past few months, so it's kind of been on my mind a lot recently. For those who don't know, the purpose of crosshair placement and the intention is to make your first shot against the other opponent as accurate and as quick as possible. Fights in tac shooters often come down to that millisecond difference, whether you secure the kill or lose the 1v1. And by placing your crosshair at that head level, you decrease the amount of time it takes for you to flick from the floor to their head. You can get the kill a lot faster. But for some reason, TF2 players just don't make a big deal out of this. I mean, we have a lot longer time to kill, like it's usually going to take 2, 3, 4 shots to kill somebody sometimes versus just the one tap in tac shooters, but this still makes a big difference. I've lost a lot of fights where if I had my crosshair in the right place, I would have won. And in that little tiny adjustment period where I was moving my crosshair, they got that extra shot off where I had to wait a few fractions of a second to get my next shot off. A great way to practice this is to just do it on rollouts. It's hard to boot up a game and solely focus on crosshair placement without other areas of your gameplay lacking, so just practice it on rollouts and it'll eventually become second nature. As for pre-firing, this is pretty self-explanatory. You know or suspect somebody is going to be around a corner, just pre-fire. It's a great way to massively increase your chances of winning that 1v1. But even when you don't suspect someone, just pre-firing anyways can be a really good habit to get into. On certain classes with low ammo counts like Soldier, do it a little sparingly because the next fight you'll get into, you only have 3 rockets instead of 4 if somebody jumps you right after you pre-fire. So just be conscious of how you're doing it and when you're doing it. Obviously, if you're about to round the corner and the enemy team is on your right, don't pre-fire a rocket to the left. But yeah, utilizing pre-fire and crosshair placement massively increases your 1v1 odds and just not dying to random BS, so definitely a mistake you're making that you can very easily improve upon that will massively increase your 1v1 win rate. Alright guys, that was 5 mistakes you're making in your Team Fortress 2 gameplay. Comment below which one was your favorite and which one is going to definitely help you the most. And let me know what other kinds of videos you guys would like to see. Again, if you like and subscribe, lets me know you want this type of content. So, see you in the next one hopefully. Peace.